Today we're going to be talking about when, who, and how to share your diagnosis because let's be real, telling people you have ADHD can feel awkward, risky, or even disappointing. Hi, I'm Anushka.
And I'm Saika.
And welcome to Girls at ADHD.
We're two ADHD therapists with ADHD here to help you laugh, rant, cry, and unmask your way through adulting with ADHD.
This season, we're back with more unhinged moments.
Except now with guests.
So buckle up, hit play at 2 times speed,
and come spiral with us as we make sense of our beautifully chaotic brains together.
Have you ever shared your diagnosis immediately and regretted it or felt relief?
Yes, to both.
Depends on who you're talking to, hey? Like if it's another ADHD, I'm like, fuck yeah, great. Sometimes other people, I'm like, oh, I don't know.
I feel less awkward about it, but like that took a while to get to. I think at the beginning it was like very, very vulnerable and always like a scary thing to be like, oh my God, how's the reaction gonna be if I tell someone or like not tell someone?
Well, yeah, and I think that one of the things I see come up with clients a lot, and like, I mean, no longer have this issue because we work for ourselves, but like when I was working for other people, like whether to tell like my boss or not, and how to bring it up, and am I going to get judged for it? Which in the workplace I was working at previous to me, I 100% was. So I didn't tell them until I
Yeah.
quit. But like, yeah, it's just like those environments, like it's hard.
It is hard. But today we're unpacking that. We're unpacking some ways that you can tell people who you should be telling, why you should be telling people. But also, ADHD or having ADHD is not like a confession that you have to give. It's not a flaw you reveal at the right moment. It's like just a piece of information about yourself and how your brain works. And you get to decide if and when anyone else gets access to that information.
100%. Let's start with those early disclosure moments. So, for many people, the first instinct after getting diagnosed is, I need to tell someone, anyone, someone, please hold this with me because it is a big piece of information to receive and you need someone else to be with you. And I think that's super normal, right? Getting
Mm.
diagnosed can feel like someone's handed a map to your brain after decades of wandering around without street signs. Like, you've just been like making it somehow, you get to where you need to get to, but now you're like, oh, there's a map.
And the first people you tell actually matter because like if you tell someone who's going to invalidate it, the first person you tell, you're going to just feel horrible and that's going to stick with you for a long time. So it really does matter who you tell first.
100%, and that could be like your partner, your best friend, it could be a parent. But like I know, like I think the first time I told my parents, they were like supportive of it, and they were like really understanding. They were like, "Sorry, we didn't get this done for you sooner." But then also in the same breath, my mum was like, because we're South Asian, she was like, "Oh, but like don't tell anyone." And I was like, "Nah, bro." And I went and told everybody. I was like, here it is on social media. This is the case. And it's been good because like now, like so many of our family friends have also then gone off and gotten diagnosed and then they've spoken to her about it. So I think she was worried about the stigma within like that multicultural community. But it was like, I think if I wasn't me and hadn't, wasn't in this niche field of work, I would have felt very like, oh no, like maybe this is something to feel ashamed about, or like I shouldn't talk to anyone about it or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my experience was really bad when I told my parents because this was before I was a counselor. But it's like I told them and the first thing they did was laugh in my face and then they said no, you don't have it. And I was like, brother, what? And like, what do you mean this is your first reaction? And it was like a shit show. I was like crying. And then the next week I was getting bombarded by messages from both my parents about videos around how like ADHD is a myth or like ways you can get around ADHD without medication and things like that. Because I think their worry was that I would be medicated and they didn't want that.
Well, see, that was like my mom's concern as well. My parents were like, "Oh, what if you go on medication? What if it messes you up?" And then, surprisingly enough, one of her clients was like, "Oh, I have ADHD, but I started going on the medication. Now I feel better." And then my mom was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Yeah. Well, I'm still waiting for that apology. It's never coming. But luckily, I was surrounded by people like you and other friends who are like very supportive and like they made sure that I was okay. And I like, they made sure to validate my ADHD. And I think that made the biggest difference.
100%. Like if someone's coming to you and revealing that they have ADHD, it helps, you know, to be empathetic, curious, gentle with them. I think a lot of my clients say similar things to you where it backfires when, you know, when someone's being dismissive or controlling or we covered a whole episode on this, like everyone has that kind of like, you know, that type of like rhetoric. It just be supportive. If someone's coming out to tell you something, be like, oh, that sounds difficult. And if you don't know anything about that, just ask them more questions. Be like, what does that mean for you? How do you feel? You know, you don't need to know all the answers.
You don't need to know all the answers, but your response does actually impact the other person. So if you are in a position to like support someone who has ADHD, or if someone has disclosed that information to you, like try and not shame them.
I agree because the thing is, though, if you are shaming somebody,
Yeah.
that's probably going to impact their ability to go and seek support. And then, you know, but if you're being supportive, that's probably going to impact them in a positive way to go and seek out support. So it's really interesting. I think if you're met with minimization, shame, or confusion, you're like, I'll stay quiet about this. If you met with compassion, you might feel empowered to advocate for yourself a little bit more, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I guess some of the things, when a client comes to me and they're like, should I tell blah, blah, blah about my ADHD diagnosis? The first thing I always ask them is why? Like, why do you want to tell them? What is your intention behind it? Do you want understanding from them? You want emotional support? Do you want accommodation from them? Or just want to be honest? Or are you like actually disclosing it because you feel like you have to out of anxiety, pressure, or guilt? Right? So figure out what those intentions are, because without understanding what your intention is, like you won't know who to tell for what.
100%. And your intention matters more than the timing. Like, why? Like, for Psycho and I, we talk about these things with each other outside of this podcast because it gives us a sense of, oh, someone else gets it. You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of validation in it. And we're very good at calling each other out if it's not that. But a lot of the time it is just ADHD. So like, you know, but it's just nice to know that someone else is there and be like, hey, I'm having a moment. What's wrong? You know? I think the other thing is like, what do I hope will change after this conversation? So, will it help this relationship? Will it clarify my needs? Will it help to reduce misunderstandings? Will it help to build trust? Or will it simply create vulnerability without benefit?
Yeah. And the last one, it hurts. It's a tough pill to swallow, creating vulnerability without benefit. Because sometimes, some people aren't like emotionally safe to tell these things to, especially if you come from like a family or a community that doesn't really understand mental health or doesn't understand ADHD. They might not be emotionally safe just because of lack of education or cultural stigma, right?
And that safety isn't about closeness, it's about capacity, right? So some
Mm,
friends are going to get it more than family. Some coworkers will be kind, others will panic that you just told them something. Um, and like, you know, they'll start reeling into like, what does that mean for me? You just have to like take it with a pinch of salt. Like, I guess, and this is so hard because like the rejection sensitivity is so strong, but like try not to take it personally. Like another person's reaction to you giving like information about your diagnosis is probably more of a reflection of them than it is of you.
yeah. And I would say like prepare for getting that RSD or the rejection sensitivity to like pop up. Like say if it goes badly. I knew that if I told you, Anushka, you probably wouldn't even care. Like
I was
you
like, yeah,
just you were like, yeah, I already knew that, right? But like people who I was like iffy about, or like if my clients come to me and they're like, I want to tell my parents, but I'm not sure how they're going to react. I like work with a safety plan um with them around that. Like, what are you doing before the conversation? What supports do you have after the conversation in case it goes bad? What coping mechanisms do you have if the rejection sensitivity is a lot? Are you regulated before having this conversation? Those are all things I'm asking.
and I think like yeah, taking that moment and checking with your like nervous system so important. Like, be ready to handle whatever comes your way. Actually, let's talk about that emotional layer a little bit more because for a lot of ADHDers, right, masking is lifelong. Rejection sensitivity is real. Words stick. Judgments linger for us, and past experiences of being misunderstood, they hurt. So disclosing your diagnosis can sometimes feel like you're walking into a room without your armor. You're not just saying, "Hey, I have ADHD." You're saying, "Hey, this is how my brain works. This is why I struggle. This is why I do things differently. Here's a part of me I've learned to hide just so that I can survive." And that's a lot. especially when you spend your childhood or your adolescence being labeled lazy, emotional, too much, not enough, unmotivated, chaotic. The idea of telling someone actually it's ADHD feels like you're exposing an old wound. And I think this is why the who matters so much. You need people who are going to respond with compassion and not commentary.
For sure. And with saying that, like, yes, you are being like very vulnerable. And that's why it's scary. Like, it's not easy to tell people about your diagnosis. This is a hard thing for you to do. So, yeah, you are being vulnerable, and being vulnerable is scary, especially as an ADHDer who is very sensitive to rejection and just any sort of energy shift that happens between relationships and people.
So true. Actually, let's talk about language, all right? Because having a few words helps to regulate the fear. So, what are some scripts we can use, Psycho? Let's just say, like, let's maybe go through like a simple script, a dating script, a work script, and
Mm.
like a family script.
One thing I want to say is like you don't necessarily have to tell people you have ADHD. You can also like talk about it in the sense of like this is how my brain works. So a chill script would be like, okay, I wanted to share something that helps explain how my brain works. If you want to disclose the ADHD, you can say I have ADHD. So sometimes I just need structures or reminders, but it also means I don't know, I'm creative and intuitive and I'm fun. I'm sharing this so we can communicate better.
I love that. If you're going on a date or you're dating someone, you could say to them, something that's good to know about me is that I've got ADHD. It affects things like time, focus, emotional intensity, but I'm learning what support looks like. I don't expect you to fix anything. I just want to be transparent. Whether that's with your partner that you're already dating, or if you're going on
Mm.
like, maybe not your first date if you don't want to bring it up. I do. I just like my
I do. I'm just like, I got these challenges. You better get on with it or not.
100%. But if you're not like us and you haven't gotten past it, you can like bring it up after like the third or fourth date and be like, hey, by the way, I've got ADHD and that just affects X, Y, and Z sometimes.
Yeah. And then like if you're at work, some things you can say is like I have ADHD, which means I work best with clear deadlines and written instructions. I'm sharing this so I can do my job well, not because I need special treatment. So like talk about it with the
Mhm.
accommodations and like talk about the strengths that will come if you have those accommodations.
100%. And those are very low stake. It's like that. As a script is such a low stake one to use. I think it works very well. With family, it could be things like I've always struggled in ways that didn't make sense before. My ADHD diagnosis has helped to explain it. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just hoping for understanding. And then if they want to ask you more questions, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too. Um, Sometimes your family will come back and be like, great, could see that. Or sometimes your family will come back and be like my mom, who was like, I didn't know you had the ABCD because we didn't understand that during our time. What does it mean? And then she'll do all the readings. And now she's a little bit on top of it. And then she's like, maybe your dad's like this. Maybe your brother is also like this. I'm like, yes, correct.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Yeah, I saw my dad go through like hyper focus when he works. And before, when I was younger, I just thought he was like moody and horrible when someone would like interject. But now I'm like, oh my God, that's hyper focus. That's hyper focus.
My favorite is when they're like, oh, but everyone does that. I'm like, no. They're like, but we do that. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like if you don't have to educate people
Mhm.
about your ADHD when you tell them about the diagnosis. You can just say something like I'm happy to share how ADHD shows up for me, but I don't really have the energy to walk through all the details. If you want to learn more, figure it out yourself, or I can send you some resources. Simple as that.
If they minimize it, you can say things like, I get that it might not seem like a big deal from the outside, but it impacts my life in ways I'm working hard to manage. I'd appreciate the support rather than the comparison. And honestly, just be that direct because for real, sometimes people will be like, start comparing their life to your life and whatever. And it's like, it can get frustrating because you're like, you can see all the hidden things and you don't want to have to explain it to them. But it's like, no, dude, you need to chill the fuck out. It is really difficult for me. Either you support me or just don't say anything to me.
And I've literally said that exact line to someone I went on a first date with. I was like, oh, I didn't know you were a doctor.
Excuse me, do you tell me more about your medical degree?
I did not have a second date, but I got
So worth it.
so worth it. Yeah, and if they use it against you, you can like I would say that is your permission to just be direct and be like, this isn't up for debate. My diagnosis is part of my medical information, and I'm setting a boundary around how we talk about it. So, bye.
These scripts that we're talking about, they're not about performing. They're about giving your nervous system some scaffolding so that you are walking into this conversations hopefully feeling a bit better. But also, if you've got a script that has worked for you, please drop it in the comments, like, and let everyone else know. Email us about it because we'd love to be able to let people know what works for you. Or what doesn't. That would be great too. If you're like, I tried this thing out and it was terrible, let us know that too so we can warn everyone else. I mean, look, we've already covered a whole episode on this, so I'm not going to like go deep into it. But if you're trying to handle people who don't get it, this is inevitable. And so people are going to respond with things like, everyone has that. Are you sure? You seem fine. It's just an excuse. Back in my day, when it happens, just remember their reaction is a reflection of their understanding, not your legitimacy. You can try educating, you can redirect, or you can step back. You don't owe your diagnosis to people who weaponize it. You don't owe explanations to those who trivialize it. And you don't have to keep letting the same people disappoint you again and again. Protect your peace, protect your energy, and your diagnosis is not community property.
It's not community property, but I will add a bit of nuance to that in the sense, if these people are people you want a continuing relationship with, and you think that they're, invalidating you because of a lack of understanding or a lack of education, I'd also encourage you to reflect on how long it took you to process your diagnosis and figure out what ADHD means for you. So, if they are important, maybe also figure out how much time you want to give them before you decide whether this relationship is something you want to continue or not.
100%. And you can start off in really simple ways. You can offer them like audiobooks and things like that. Like that's how I started off with like my family and close friends. Or send them our podcast. They can listen to the first episode.
Send them this podcast.
So many of my clients send it to their family and they're like, oh, it's really helping them to understand me. I'm like,
Aw,
great.
that's nice.
Yeah, that's cute. So for anyone listening who hasn't told anyone yet, if no one knows about your ADHD yet, here's what we want you to hear. You're not behind, you're not doing it wrong, you're not hiding, you're protecting yourself.
Yes, and when you are ready, start small, start slow, and start with somebody safe, please.
Yeah. You can also practice disclosure with a therapist or journal out a script first, or tell it to an online support group anonymously. That's a great way to go about it too.
Yeah. And if you have like bad experiences in the past with telling people, that doesn't mean all your experiences of telling people are going to go bad. You get to rewrite that story with better people around you.
100%. Because you know what? Your ADHD, it's not a flaw, a burden, or a confession. It's simply one part of who you are, and you deserve to share it with the people who can hold it gently.
Well, I hope that really helped. If you have further questions, because this is quite a big topic, right? So if anything we said kind of sparked interest, you want us to go a bit further or deeper into it, let us know through comments or on our social media. But yeah, sharing a diagnosis is not a single moment. It's a series of choices you make throughout your life. Some disclosures will go really well and beautifully, some won't, but both can teach you something.
And the most important relationship in all of this is the one that you have with yourself. If you can honor your neurodivergence with compassion, if you can speak to yourself with gentleness, if you can show up for your needs without shame, then disclosure stops being about courage and starts becoming about alignment. If you're not ready to share your diagnosis yet, that's okay. You're still whole, still worthy, and you're exactly where you need to be.
Yes, and you don't need someone to give you a good reaction for your ADHD to be valid. It is valid.
Facts. We'll validate it for you. Just listen to this again.
Over and over.
Valid. Valid.
What? Okay. Well, thanks for listening. I hope that helped, and we'll see you in the next one.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening.
And remember to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Girls That ADHD for more ADHD realness, to ask us questions, or slide into our DMs with episode ideas.
And sign up to our newsletter at girlsthatadhd.com to stay updated on new episodes, toolkits, workshops, and book in ADHD coaching if you're ready to work with your brain, not against it.
And if you found this episode useful, leave us a quick review because it really does help us reach more ADHDers and help them find us in the chaos.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye!